What's up, guys? Well, we got some interesting stuff to talk about. Particularly once everybody gets in here, we'll talk about the current proposal that has been sent back to the judge from the NCAA side, and to be just how much of kind of a joke it is as far as what Judge Wilkin was looking for. So we'll get into that in a second. I have a video coming out about that later today, so watch out for it. Looks like 5 years in grandfathering is going to happen. Well, I think it will eventually happen, Keith, but certainly the proposal that was sent is not what you think it is. Barks, what's up? White House, what's up? Cougs, first in the chat, what's up, Coog? Keith. Again, I'm going to wait for everyone to get in, but let's just say it's grandfathering, right? It's not actually grandfathering. And we'll explain that when we get into it. And there's a good reason for me saying that. When you look kind of deeper into it and just kind of analyze it, there's almost no way. There's almost no way that Judge Wilkin approves what the NCAA has sent back in their kind of, what they're kind of saying is should be like a middle ground meeting point. Did you see the White Sox game last night where the infield pop-up hit off the second baseman's head in the ninth and they blew the game? Yeah. Unfortunately, I did. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you guys. Like, I mean, the product at the major league level is so bad. It is unwatchable. I mean, the Reds blow a game against the Braves I think it was last night, because their outfielder just has no basic understanding of fundamental baseball. And also doesn't realize that, like, the runner on first is the tying run, and maybe that should be a priority. And then your second baseman's not even in the right position. So, I mean, there was so many mess ups for the Reds in that ninth inning, and then they end up blowing the game and losing to Atlanta when they had a 1-0 lead. And it's just totally, it's ridiculous. And we'll probably go over that somewhat as well. But I mean, again, across the Major League, I mean, guys, this is the thing, and I see people in the comments. There was some great baseball yesterday. Oh yeah, at the college level, 100%. But there's so many guys in the comments, and they're like, "Why is this happening? How does this? What year did pro organizations stop caring about fundamentals?" I will say this: it really accelerated when the National League went to the DH. That was already starting somewhat when I was in professional baseball, maybe around 2014, 2015. That kind of started happening. And it had started somewhat before that. But it really accelerated when the National League got rid of, the pitcher having to hit, because then, you're not having to, you don't need a bunch of, the National League, you had to have a bunch of really good baseball players. You had to have versatile guys. You had the guys that knew how to pinch hit and all that. And you don't need that anymore, because the pitcher doesn't hit. So you don't have to build your entire team around like a solid bench that can come into pinch hit situations and that are versatile and can play all over the field. You really don't need that in today's game. And to be honest, like in the comments, what a lot of guys say is like, man, how does this happen in the Major League game? How does this happen? And I'll tell you exactly how it happens. It happens because you have not every coach, but the vast majority of coaches in major league organizations now have no pro experience. They have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea how the game works. And so again, you see stuff happening in the major league level where you're like, how does that happen? And again, when you have a bunch of guys who are, they're like swing mechanics experts and, spin rate and pitch repertoire and, type guys that don't understand how the game is played or should be played. It's not even that it's not talked about. A lot of the stuff you see is like actively discouraged. Like, no, don't do that. You run around second, no outs. Don't try to hit it to the right side. Don't try to get him to third. Don't even think of it. We don't even need to worry about that. It only worked for, like, as Dusty, as our boy Dusty would say, it only worked for like the last 100 years. A lot of things going Miami's way last night. Yes. Our first round of the playoffs starts tomorrow. Can't believe a 14-6 doesn't get us a home playoff game. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. But good luck. Coastal Carolina looks like Omaha contenders. Yeah, they like we talked about, man, they got good pitching. They got really good pitching. And again, if you're looking at a mid-major team that's going to make it to Omaha, a great offense is great. That's not a great indicator that they're going to make it to Omaha. If you have a really good pitching staff, you got a chance. Now we need to take care of our business tonight. No point in scoreboard watching if we don't win tonight. That's right. Jason, it's really crazy now, and people don't realize it's really hard on an 18-year-old. Something's going on because now D1 coaches are back emailing and texting him. Well, I mean, this is, from what I've heard, it will be approved. There's a lot of people saying it will be approved in the next couple of weeks. But I will say the proposal that was just sent either last night or this morning or today from the NCAA side was pretty much a joke. And we'll get into it right now. So let me pull it up and explain why it's kind of a joke. Just make sure. Let me see if I can find it here. Thought yesterday everyone was playing around talking about the chitter. I just found out it's a real pitch. Yeah, dude, it's a change-up splitter, which most split fingers are similar speed to a change-up. It's just one of those other dumb. It's one of those other dumb, like, made-up pitches that has existed for 100 years, but someone's like decided to put a different name on it. All right, let me see. All right, so here we go. And this is, again, from the NCAA side, a lot of this is coming from, the conference officials, the head of conferences, all that stuff. And like, you're going to laugh when you hear this, but I mean, I just want to make sure I have the right one. All right. All right, looks like the new roster limits plan, the NCAA/Power 4 will be presenting to Judge Wilkin, will end up being the voluntary grandfathering plan. Now, voluntary being the operative word here, because this basically says that schools have the option of granting the grandfathering in to each player. So essentially, they don't have to do anything, is what this says. So in my mind, and a lot of people have commented underneath this, and we'll look at the comments, this doesn't guarantee any kind of protection for players that are current on rosters this calendar year at all. It's voluntary, and it's not the player's decision, it's the school's decision. So remember, I told you guys that a lot of coaches had told me, even if it's the grandfathering thing happens, even if they don't count against our roster, the school is going to tell us we need to cut them anyway due to budget issues. Like, they don't want to pay for extra guys on the team. Well, now this just makes it to where, you know how many schools are going to say, yeah, we're just not going to grandfather any players. But then again, if the school can voluntarily grandfather you in or not, well, what if they just don't do it? And so here's the second element. A new element is that athletes not retained by their current/previous schools will be able to take their grandfather status to a new school. So the key question is this. If a kid is, and I think I understand it, I could be wrong. What I'm reading is that a school can decide, nah, you're not grandfathered into the roster. Well, then you don't have grandfather status. But if for some reason the school says, yeah, we're going to grandfather you in, but we're still going to cut you. Right? So either way, what I think you're going to see happen is schools are going to say, yeah, we'll grandfather you in. You don't count against rosters, and then they're going to cut you. And then you're still going to go in the portal, and you can take that grandfather status somewhere else. But if a school says, no, we're not grandfathering anyone in, and then they leave, they can't be given the grandfather status from their next school because the whole grandfathering thing in applied to the school that they're currently at. So basically, it's a big nothing burger if this is actually what the proposal looks like. We may have multiple playoff games in minor league parks. What does that say about the current state of MLB? Bad. You know, I mean, I hate saying it, man. I love the game. I love baseball. I love Major League Baseball, but I can't even watch it, man. I can't even watch it. And I can tell you, there's hundreds of coaches, former pro coaches, former guys that played in the big leagues, just you name it, that will tell you the exact same thing. And again, if you're one of those guys like me who says something like that, basically what you get told by like fans and other people are that, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot. You just don't like how things are run now. It's like, no, I would have no problem if things were run differently, if they actually looked like it, if the games actually looked like a Major League Baseball game. The defenses are terrible. The fundamentals are I mean, again, you watch the ninth inning in the Braves-Reds game last night, and you saw like 3 terrible decisions. And again, it's just not something you ever saw 15 years ago, 20 years ago. You just didn't. You didn't get to the big leagues if you were not an actual, like, the other thing is this, what you see, I'm seeing guys like college players, and you have these guys on social media saying, oh yeah, it's a 50 glove, 55 glove, 60 glove. And I'm like, dude, that's not even a 50. It's like a 40. It's like a 45 glove or 40. There's so many people that they have no idea what they're talking about anymore. I mean, Volpe at shortstop for the Yankees, I mean, he's terrible. I've never seen anything like it. They let a ball fall into like normal center field, and both him and Trent Grisham just kind of let it fall. It's just, again, it's like the game is worse than it's ever been. And anyone who says differently is, again, they just don't know. They just don't know ball. All right, so let's look at this part. Conference officials are sharing with members and gaining approval of a revision to House roster limits to grant schools the option to grandfather athletes. In a new concept, it also permits athletes who leave / are not retained by their current school to keep the grandfather status at a new school. But again, I don't think this will be approved. I think Judge Wilkins is going to say, and this is what some people are saying. Some people are saying it's either going to get, I don't know exactly what the next proceeding is. Like if Buck was in here, maybe he could help. But in my mind, there's really only 2 things that could happen. Is Judge Wilkins goes, this is ridiculous, we're going to trial. And then who knows how long that lasts. Or she just goes, yeah, good try. Send me another proposal where the grandfather actually applies to everybody. Keith, I think the grandfathering will have to happen. I think so too. But I also think the schools that opt out on the scholarship, because like you were saying, budget cuts or schools just can't afford it. But I'm not talking about schools that opt out of the settlement. I'm just saying, even if players are grandfathered in, every player in the country is grandfathered in, they can't force a school to keep them on their roster. So they may be grandfathered in as not applying to the roster. But what I was told is, like our athletic department is going to tell us, like, you still got to be around 34. Like you're not going to have 43 guys on the team and 8 of, 11 of which are, or 9 of which are grandfathered in. The Rockies are on pace to win 29 games, and the White Sox are on pace to win 45 games. Yeah, I mean, dude, like Zach, here's one of the main problems in Major League Baseball right now. Every team is doing the exact same thing, right? They all have, the same analytics guys doing the exact same thing. And not I don't want to say every team, but the vast majority of teams and are basically there's no competitive advantage. Because they all are basically saying the same thing. Well, we need these guys in the lineup that, 3 true outcome players. And, well, of course, based on the team and how much money they've spent on the roster, you're gonna have better play. Like the Dodgers, they just have the best players in baseball. So if you're like the White Sox or if you're the Rockies and you're trying to outslug the Dodgers, you're not going to win. So why don't we try different strategies if we're the White Sox or we're the Rockies? See, this is the problem. The problem is back in the day, if you didn't have a roster that you thought, man, we're going to slug, we're going to score a bunch of runs that way, you ran a different offense. You tried to run. You did different things, right? You got a bunch of guys that can really run and line drive hitters, and hopefully that worked out. But see what most of these teams are doing, even the ones at the bottom of the standings, is they're like, no, we're just going to try to slug with like the Mets and the Yankees and the Dodgers and the other really good teams. And again, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. In similar fashion, it's very similar to. Like, let's say one of the reasons why Wofford has been so successful is because they run a different offense than pretty much everyone in the country. Not everybody, but the vast majority. Because I think, and rightfully so, they've identified we're not going to get like 5 or 6 guys that are like 20 home run, 15 plus home run type guys. But we can run an offense that most defenses aren't used to, pitchers aren't used to, catchers aren't used to. And that's going to be our competitive advantage. And that's why Wofford is really good every year, no matter what. And a lot of other mid-majors are just like, well, we're going to do what Tennessee's doing. We're going to do what, and that can work sometimes, but usually you're year to year, you're not going to have a good enough roster to do that. And so that's what's going on. Jason, what do you think the roster limits will be coming spring of 26? I know they're saying the fall is unlimited, but they would like to have it down to 30. Yeah, I mean, fall is going to be unlimited. They've already said that. And like the NCAA, because I sent out that, we broke it with Elite Sports. We broke that email. Nobody else had that email. I'll say it like that. Nobody else had that email because they don't have relationships with coaches. All the other people in this industry, they like to act like they know coaches, they're friends with them and all that. They don't. Well, actually, our Northeast guy Murph was like, one of the ways we could show how just a great relationship we have is like the coaches talk trash to us, because these guys are our friends. Like it's like a group of friends. You talk trash to each other. That's the kind of relationships we have. And so we didn't even ask for that email. Like one of our really good connections just said, "Hey, you guys, look at this." They just sent it to us. So again, Jace, to answer your question, the fall roster will be unlimited, but I think it will be down to what you're going to see is it's either going to be down to 34. That's what the conference is, the Power 4 conference, the big time power players on the NCAA side are like the Power 4 conference leaders, everything like that. They want it to be 34. They do not want to do this slow implementation like 38 and then 36 and then 34, like over 3 years or something like that. They want to go straight to 34, like rip the Band-Aid off, let it bleed, like, deal with the issues. And then that's it. Seems like Judge Wilkin and the objectors really want it to be slow implementation, full grandfathering in of all players, which I think full grandfathering in of all players makes sense. Certainly they didn't come into college knowing that roster sizes were going to get cut across the board in all sports, and they shouldn't be punished for that. But Jason, the real answer is like, who knows? I mean, it just depends on what the judge says to this latest proposal and what comes after that. I think it will definitely be lower than 40, but who knows? Zach, do you think Mississippi State will go out of the SEC to hire their coach? Wonder if they would consider the Coastal Carolina coach. I don't think so. Uh, uh, Again, I mean, I from what I'm hearing, it's like there's three guys. It's Nick Mingione, Rob Vaughn, and Josh Elander potentially. I mean, those are the three names I'm hearing everywhere. And again, we know a guy pretty close. We're pretty close with that thinks it's Rob Vaughn. That's what we're hearing. What's up, gents? They have to grandfather in. Well, yeah, Buck. And the issue is what the the power, like the conference leaders and the NCAA have proposed is a voluntary grandfathering in. So not a grandfather in. Like if it's up to the school to determine if they're going to grandfather in players or not. How many schools are going to say no, we're not doing that? So again, it's a nothing burger. And I don't think the judge is going to approve that. The judge is going to be like, no. Buck, what I wanted to know, because I know you're kind of in the know on this stuff, is like, what's the next thing that happens here? The deadline is today for, I think, for the proposal from the NCAA, from the conference side, the NCAA side. They've sent this in. Judge obviously has to say, oh yeah, that works, or deny it. But what's the next step? Is it like, nah, come back with another proposal that looks better? Or is it we're going to trial? Like, is this the deadline to, like, what's the deadline to when the judge just says we're going to trial because this isn't going to work? They want a big hire, 100%, Keith. They definitely do, and that's why I think, again, I think I think Rob Vaughn, Mingione, and Elander would be. I think Elander's probably. If they can't get, let's say if he's like the number 2, I mean, I think Elander's probably, again, I don't want to say anything, but he's an assistant coach, so that kind of hurts him a little bit, even though, again, Tony Vitello was an assistant coach when he took over Tennessee. And we all know what happened there. Rob Vaughn did what he did at Maryland. He's come to Alabama, and Alabama has always been thought of in the SEC and the industry as one of the harder places to win because it's just a football school. And they've always just been kind of okay at baseball. Especially in the last 15 years. And so what he's done at Alabama this year, on top of what he did at Maryland, I think you think, man, if this guy goes to Mississippi State and gets a bunch of NIL support, all kinds of that, that kind of stuff, great facilities, he could turn it into a monster. So I totally agree there. That, like, I understand that logic. And the same is true of Minge at Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky, again, is another one of those, you probably go in the SEC in terms of how hard is it to win at the school. It probably goes Missouri, and then like Alabama and Kentucky are kind of right there. I mean, that's reality. I mean, they're probably the bottom 3 or 4 of like how difficult is it to build a winning program kind of year by year. So what Minge has done at Kentucky, obviously taking them to the College World Series last year, and again, he was an assistant at Mississippi State. So, any one of those 3 guys, and obviously I played with Josh Elander in pro ball, and what he's done at Tennessee and helped building that program, it's undeniable. And at some point, someone will take a chance on him, I think, in a head coach position. So I think all 3 of those could be good options. But from what, again, from a guy that we heard that's really close to the situation, is that he's saying it's going to be Rob Vaughn. I don't know if that's true, but that's what we heard. Dusty always texts me, when's the live? And then I tell him, and I haven't seen him in here yet. Have you guys? So the thing that worries me is that proposal from the NCAA side. Again, it would blow my mind if Judge Wilkin looks at that and goes, okay, that's fine. I mean, again, because everything she said is, she wants to make sure the current roster players are taken care of. So I just don't think a voluntary grandfathering in is gonna. I don't think she's gonna like that. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but from what we've heard from her, that doesn't seem like it'll play. And what happens if this goes to trial? How long does that drag on? I don't think anybody wants it to go to trial. I think this is the NCAA trying to see, like, all right, well, will she take this? It's like kind of like a sleight of hand. It's almost like, hopefully she doesn't understand that voluntarily grandfathering in determined by the schools is not really anything, which I'm guessing she'll see right through. I saw a stat where Jim Scholl's team have led the country in pitches. Slosh. Jim Schlossnagle's team have led the country in pitches per plate appearance each of the last 4 years. Yep. And again, why is that important? Why is that an important stat? Why does that seem to be a winning stat? Right? Well, that means you have hitters that are confident hitting with 2 strikes. Also means you're wearing out an opponent's starter. If your average pitches seen per plate appearance is 4.7, that's let's just round it up to 5 pitches per. That's 15 pitches minimum for 3 outs. You mix a hit in there or a couple hits in there, that's like a 20 plus pitch inning every inning. That means the starter's going 5 max, probably less. So you're getting to the bullpen faster. And again, in college baseball, generally speaking, you get to the bullpen, you're facing a not as good arm. Now, obviously some schools in the SEC, usually your 5th inning guy out of the bullpen is not a stud. Say it like that. Usually, you get to the 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th at some of the top schools, you're like, okay, these guys are pretty good. But generally, let's just think about Tennessee. Would you rather face Liam Doyle for 7 innings or face him for 4 and then go to the bullpen? And the same is true with Tennessee's Saturday guy. And for pretty much every Friday night guy in the SEC and the ACC, generally speaking, you would rather them be out of the game and face the bullpen. So if your average pitches seen in a plate appearance is leading the country, that means your at-bats against the starter are super low. Mike Martin's teams at FSU were always so good at working the count. Yeah, and Mike Martin, and I'll tell you from talking to James Ramsey, like Mike Martin, it was kind of a rule at Florida State, especially as a freshman or a young guy, kind of first-year starter in the program or in the lineup. Like, he was going to control your at-bat. Like James will tell you, like, if you had to earn the right to swing 3-1 or swing 2-0. And if you look back, Florida State's bottom 3 hitters, who are always usually they're younger guys, they always hit like 230 or 240, but their on-base percentages were like 500. And that's because Mike Martin was being like, 2-0 count, take. Because he understood that, you don't want a freshman who hasn't earned the right. And James will tell you, it's like, you had to earn the right. You had to show that you could have a good at-bat. You knew what you were doing in the box. You could control the at-bat. You were in command. And he said, once you proved that to Mike Martin, you had free reign. He wasn't going to control your at-bat. But those younger guys, Mike Martin, senior, 11, he was going to control the at-bat. And again, you tell players that in this day and age, they'd be like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. Well, like, you want to win 40 games every year? I mean, Mike Martin, you think about him winning 40 straight years with 40 win seasons. That's insane. It's insane. Have to go. Hopefully I'll be here tomorrow. All right. See you, White House. No problem, dude. But yeah, I mean, again, so like that was, and you're right, Zach, that was a hallmark of, and again, part of that was by him controlling the at-bat for you as a young guy, you learned through him controlling your at-bat. You learned that in a 2-0 count, I don't just have to swing at any pitch. Because what a lot of freshmen will do, 2-0 count, they get like an outer third fastball they're not looking for, and they go, it's a strike, I got to swing, and they ground out. Well, then Mike Martin makes you take. So it's 2-1 count. The next pitch, because it's 1 strike, he's giving you you're good to swing. Well, it's way out of the zone. Now you're in 3-1 count, and then you get walked. So you start to learn that just because I'm in a 2-0 count doesn't mean I get outside of my approach and swing at anything, because I took that pitch and then the guy proceeded to throw 2 balls in a row and I walked. And again, I remember every year I played against James for 2 years, and they always had their top 5 or 6 hitters were always studs, James being one of them. And then their bottom 3 guys, you were like, and again, I didn't know that's how it was run being at Georgia Tech. Obviously I didn't know until I, was coaching with James at Georgia Tech 4 or 5 years ago, and him talking about it. Cause I was like, what was it like playing for 11? Cause obviously he's a legend. And that's what he said. And I'm like, okay, now I understand why your bottom 3 hitters always hit like 230, but they seem to have like a 450 on base percentage. But yeah, guys, I mean, Buck, I want to know, Buck, I want you to do some research here and let me know what you think is going to happen. Because in my mind, and I want to hear your guys' opinion, in my mind, this proposal from like the NCAA Power 4, officials, whatever, is kind of a slap in the face. So is that philosophy that you only look one zone, 2-0 or 3-1, or did he give the take sign? He literally would give him the take sign. Like he would not. It's not like, oh, hey, pick a spot, which is like that was at Georgia Tech. That was what DH would do. DH is like, hey, and don't get me wrong. Like if you swung at a bad pitch, like you were gonna get, like he was gonna let you know. But at Georgia Tech, it was like, hey, pick a spot. Know what you're looking for, commit to it. But the problem is, most kids in high school and certainly most freshmen in college do not have an advanced approach. And so they don't understand how to commit to that approach. And like what I'll hear high school guys say all the time, I'm like, hey, you weren't looking for that. Why are you swinging at that? It just looks so good out of the hand. And I'm like, okay, but you weren't hunting that area. Why are you swinging at it? So Mike Martin said, I'm not dealing with that. Mike Martin said, you're taken. Like, take. Just on Buck, what do you think is the next thing to happen? Because this proposal, in my view, is kind of ridiculous that the NCAA is pushing, is making to Judge Wilkin. It just seems like, again, she was asking for like protection of the student athletes that are on current rosters. So a grandfathering in of all the athletes on the roster. The NCAA says, oh, yeah, sure, we'll make it a voluntary decision by each school to grandfather in players or not. So isn't that basically like there's no, I mean, again, how many schools are going to say, no, we're not grandfathering anyone in? They just did make a ruling and play baseball. Is that the only proposal the NCAA is giving? Schools implement grandfathering themselves? No way that flies with her. After hearing her a few weeks back, she was pretty clear she sees this harming current athletes. That's my belief as well, Buck. I just, again, unless she was just like grandstanding and being fake, like I just do not see her going, okay, yeah, that works. So what happens next? What's the next step? She's going to get this. She's going to say, no way we're doing this. Like at what point does she say we're taking this to trial? Or does she say, yeah, we're not doing that. Come back with me again when you have something serious. The deadline is next week or 2 weeks from now. Like, what do you think is the next step? Also, on a side note, watching the Clemson Coastal Carolina game last night, Coastal's fans were awesome. Coastal's fans were talking trash in the bullpen, just like screwing up guys warming up in the bullpen. Love to see that. I mean, that's why you play college baseball at Clemson or Coastal Carolina. Like, you want to play in front of crowds like that when you're the home team. And I loved it. I loved playing in front of big crowds, hostile crowds. It was just like, that's what I wanted to be in. I wanted to play in the big leagues, and that was definitely going to happen in the big leagues. So why not play in a hostile environment in college? And I mean, you can ask Dusty about his first appearance at Clemson as a freshman. Imagine a regional and a super regional and Coastal. Oh, dude. I mean, Coastal Carolina is without a doubt just an amazing program at a mid-May. I mean, it's awesome. And they do it right. The stadium is so nice. They get a bunch of fan support. Why wouldn't you want to go to Coastal, man? I don't know. It's in Myrtle Beach. Hope I'm right about that. Myrtle Beach, yeah. Let me check. Yeah, it's Myrtle Beach. Well, it's Conway, which is really close to Myrtle Beach. I hope I didn't just mess that up. Where's my maps? I have to use my phone now. All right, let's see. Not sure about it as I'm not a lawyer. Only play one on TV. Taking it to trial is the next. Do you really play a lawyer on TV, Buck? Like, I'm not. I feel like you're trolling me, but do you really? Taking a trial is the next threat that's out there. However, the NCAA does not want that, as this will go against them. And Coastal, yeah, I agree. I think if it goes to trial, like what I was saying earlier, Buck, before you came on, all of a sudden, like, how much money gets paid out to all the classes could go up. Obviously, you're paying the legal fees for all this stuff. So the NCAA could end up getting fleeced. And I actually saw one guy comment and say, yeah, the Power Fours want that to happen, because if the NCAA gets bankrupt, then they can do whatever. Conway's not far from Myrtle, but a bit more inland. Okay, yeah. I knew it was like I knew it was near Myrtle Beach. Matlock? What? Let me see. Dude, no way. Stop, Buck. Which lawyer do you play? I'm looking through the cast right now. We all need to binge watch this. I'm gonna watch this with my wife tonight. What's your character's name? That's pretty cool, man. Congrats. That's awesome. You start into... Dude, I'm starting to think... are you trolling me? Is the new To Kill a Mockingbird? Is there a new one? You definitely weren't in the old one. Which character in Matlock? I'm going to find it. Dude, there's a lot of like really good actors in this. Buck, you're not Kathy Bates. Stop, Buck. Buck. Am I being trolled now? Am I being trolled? I know. I mean, if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. If you don't want to, if you just say, "Hey, I want to kind of remain anonymous," that's fine. I'll find out. I'll watch the show tonight, and I'll figure out which one you are. Just let me know. Are you one of the main cast, or are you in like the recurring characters, like outside of the main cast? That's what I need to know. Nine 5-4. Was Kathy Bates in To Kill a Mockingbird? Let me see. No, I don't see it popping up for her. Thoughts on D1 bracket? Well, let me go look at it. I scrolled through it yesterday. I really want to figure out who Buck is, unless he doesn't, or she, this whole time. Unless he's trolling me, or he's like, I don't want to like kind of give out my real name, which is fine. But if you're an actor in a show, everyone kind of knows it anyway, right? So, all right, let me look at the D1 bracketology. Finally busy. Jared, what's up, man? Make sure I got the right. Finally busy with baseball in New England, which means I have to work harder at actual work during the day. That sucks. Still watch vids. Nice. Oldest is a 27 grad, and I can see this grandfathering hurting them. Yeah, I mean, again, Jared, what I've been told, you should be able to figure it out. Man, dude, stop. I got to let me go to the, let me answer Jared, then I'm going to go on the, I'm going to type it in. Or wait, you've sent me, 1 second. Okay, all right, let me see. Okay, let me see. Let me make sure. Now let me get back to some of the questions here. So Jared, what I've heard from a lot of schools is that even if every player is grandfathered in, they're still going to be, they're not going to like keep 42 guys in the team. So there should not be as much roster bloat. There probably will be some, but there won't be nearly as much as there was with COVID. So basically no one really knows you can get a so-called scholarship in the fall and easily get cut in the spring. If the rational limits go to 34, do red shirts count against the roster? Dude, that's another thing we're waiting to hear. Jason. That's something that's in the House settlement that like they're waiting to hear from. I would assume red shirts would not count. So like maybe, like again, this fall it's unlimited, but the fall after that it'll be 38 guys in the fall. So maybe you can redshirt all 4 of those guys. I don't know. Tall, dark, and handsome. All right, let's see here. Oh, no, that's not the right. Let me see. Dude. Man, I don't know. Buck, I can't tell if you're trolling me, man. Like, I literally can't tell if you're trolling me. Making first trip to a D2 school, but Is prep the way to go for a lot of these kids? There's not enough schools and spots. Alfie, okay. Let me see. No, you don't, Buck. Buck, Alfie's like 10 years old. I'm being trolled so hard. I'm actually just getting trolled, and I keep going along with it. You mean like a prep, like obviously like a gap year kind of, like a prep year? Is that what you're saying, Jared? John, Oregon State will be the easiest regional to win. Yeah, I mean, kind of. All right, let's pull it up while Buck keeps trolling me. Buck keeps trolling me. It's just disgusting what he's doing. All right, so I mean, honestly, for Texas, this is like, I mean, there's no ACC team in this regional. So, again, the hardest regionals are going to be, I'm advanced for my age. Shut up. Shut up. This is not a bad one. No, I don't think prep is the way to go. I think it is a way to go for a small percentage of people, but I would way much rather guys go to like a good JUCO or a good D2 and get the playing time and experience, because again, the reason high school players are losing out is because they don't have a college track record that a lot of these other these kids in the portal and out of JUCO do. So going to a prep year is not really going to give you that track record that makes you attractive to D1 schools. So it's much better, in my opinion, to go JUCO or D2. And again, understanding that 5-year eligibility is probably going to be a thing. So if you go to JUCO for 1 year, you're still probably going to have 4 years of eligibility to D1. Same is true at D2. So, like, I think kids just have to come to the realization now that college baseball is a lot more like the minor leagues. Just because you don't go straight to University of Texas doesn't mean you can't get there in 2 years. And when you do get there, it's going to be your spot to lose instead of fighting to beat somebody. Arizona Regional, yeah, I mean, A&M, Southern Cal, yeah, I mean, this is like again, I mean, A&M's going to get I think A&M can win this regional all day. I mean, Southern Cal's been really good too. Shout out to Andy Stankiewicz. One of my teammates, Drew Stankiewicz's dad, is doing a great job there. Arkansas, you got Dallas Baptist, Kansas, Missouri State. That's a solid regional. That's a difficult regional. UCLA gets Irvine, Arizona State, San Diego. That's a solid region. But again, no ACC or SEC. Like, here's a win. Like, this is a win regional for UCLA, because most teams outside of the ACC and the SEC are going to have an SEC and an ACC team in their regional. UCLA projected to have none. Right? And same is true with Arkansas, right? It could be that, like, Dallas Baptist is really good. Kansas is really good. Missouri State's solid. Shout out to former Georgia Tech pitcher Deck McGuire, who's doing the pitching stuff there. But both these teams have an advantage of where they don't have another power. They don't have an ACC or SEC school in their regional, right? And UCLA, especially because Arkansas is in the SEC, they try not to match up SEC teams in an SEC hosted regional, but no ACC team either. So UCLA, this would be even though Irvine's really good, Arizona State's good, San Diego's solid. Still, you don't have to face an ACC or an SEC team, which is really good. Florida State gets Troy, Mississippi State, Bethune-Cookman. Mississippi State's playing better now, man. I still think that's going to be a hard regional win, because Florida State's got deep pitching. Their bullpen's been okay, but their starting pitching's really good. They have one of the best rotations in the country. Oregon State, Oklahoma, UConn, Nevada. Again, as far as regionals go, like, I agree with you, John. I think Oklahoma's a favorite here. And I don't honestly, I'm starting to think like Oregon State is gonna somehow get a host unless they have another bad weekend. But yeah, I think this is one that Oklahoma takes if that's where they go. LSU, Miami, Southeast Louisiana, Central Connecticut. Miami, dude. The thing is, Miami, offensively, do they match up? No, but they're pitching so good, like they can literally beat anyone, as they've shown now. So, I think it's a tough draw for Miami, having to go to LSU, number 4 seed, and Southeast Louisiana has been really good. But I think this is a Miami versus LSU regional. Oregon, TCU, Cal Poly, Fairfield. This is a solid regional. But again, Oregon, no ACC, no SEC team. All these West Coast regionals, they don't get ACC, SEC schools. D1 Baseball said if Miami wins the next 2 series, they will be a host. Yeah, I agree. They should be. If they win the next 2 series, 100% they should be a host. 100%. With the way they finished, yeah, they're playing like one of the better teams in the country. Georgia Tech, Northeastern, Tennessee Tech. Northeastern's really good. Actually, funny story. My host brother in Cape Cod League 14 years ago, he actually played at Northeastern, had a great career there. He's one of the coaches there, so that would be awesome for maybe I'd get a chance to see him. I saw him at ABCA. I saw him. I'm like, Danny? And I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm coaching at Northeastern now. I'm like, awesome, man. But this would be a battle of the offenses in this regional. And again, I think like Georgia's played really good. I do think they're pitching. Credit to Wes Johnson, because I think their pitching was a big question mark at the beginning of the year, or at least they thought their starters were going to be better than they performed, and they made some adjustments, and they've really kind of figured it out. But I still think they don't have like the lights out pitching that a lot of these other schools, these top seeds do. But their offense is top tier, one of the best in the country. Same with Georgia Tech. So it'd be a firepower regional. West Virginia gets a brutal regional. Duke, Kentucky, and George Mason. Good luck with that one, West Virginia. You get an ACC and an SEC team. Auburn gets Southern Miss, Stetson, Bryant. Again, no ACC team, but Southern Miss is really good. Stetson is balling out. And Bryant's having a great year as well. But again, the thing that, and Southern Miss is a little bit different. Southern Miss it's one of those Sun Belt teams that really plays like an ACC/SEC team. But generally with the ACC and SEC schools, they have a lot of depth pitching wise, so it's harder to beat them in a deep regional. Coastal Carolina gets NC State, yikes, and Florida, yikes, because both these teams are, again, NC State got swept in 2 games by Miami, but NC State's been playing really well. Florida's really figured it out lately. Question is, can they continue it? But this is a brutal regional. North Carolina projected to get Ole Miss, Iowa, and Holy Cross. Honestly, Ole Miss has not played as good lately. This is kind of I don't want to say easy, but again, just kind of a favorable regional for North Carolina if this happens. Iowa's played really well too. Bryant, 9 road wins in a row, won 16 of the last 17. Yeah, Bryant's playing really well. Again, the question though with any 4 seed and any team that kind of has to win their conference tournament or win their conference to get the bid is, do they have the pitching depth to go? Again, can they pull off an upset? Like really for a 4 seed, generally the way they win is they pull off an upset in game 1 and they get into the winner's bracket. So can Bryant do that? We have to wait and see. Clemson gets Alabama, Cincinnati, and Wright State. I want to say it's a pretty difficult regional, but like again, it's not the most difficult regional by a long shot. Vanderbilt, this is an interesting one, gets Louisville, Xavier, and Yale. Yale's number 1. Yale's number 1 is legit Friday night SEC arm. He's mid to upper 90s. Dad pitched in the big leagues. Ullman, really good. So can Yale pull off the upset in game one? I think there's definitely a chance they can do that. The question is, do they have the pitching depth outside of that to finish it out? Tennessee gets Wake, East Tennessee State, Kent State. That's a brutal regional. Wake Forest, again, have not played great, but they have good pitching. They have a decent offense, and again, they're starting to show a little bit better. East Tennessee State's got a massive offense; they can slug, and Kent State really good across the board. So that's a tough regional for Tennessee. Most difficult regional in my mind is, let me see. Most difficult regional in my mind is either Arizona, just with the depth of teams, and West Virginia and Coastal Carolina. So if you want to pick upsets, those are regionals where you could see upsets: Coastal Carolina, West Virginia, and Arizona. I don't see Clemson making it out of the regional this year. Yeah, I mean, well, they haven't been playing as well lately, right? And that's a big part of it. Is your team playing well at the right time? Wake Forest has been off the radar for the past month plus. Yeah, they've just been very inconsistent. But again, the overall talent on the team is really good. Zach, I think Clemson is going through one of those rough stretches. I still think they are one of the deepest teams. And the question is, can they get it turned around in the next weekend or two and all of a sudden be firing on all cylinders? Because Clemson, again, I mean, for most of the year, they were one of the best teams in the country. And they still are. ETSU gave UT their first loss, remember, in a midweek. Yeah, I mean, East Tennessee State can slug, man. And again, the question in the regional is just, do you have the pitching depth to go 4 or 5 games against an SEC team or a regional host in general? That's the question. Most difficult in Zach's mind is Conway or Vandy. Yeah, I mean, Vandy's up there as well. Vandy, I think I got Vandy as probably the fourth hardest. Just because, again, that game one against Yale, if they get Yale, is going to be really tough, because that's a legit SEC. Like, that's an arm that you could see pitching at Tennessee on Friday night, right? Or LSU. So that's again for Vandy. It's like win game one, but then, like you guys have said, Xavier playing really well. Louisville has been in the top 25 for the last month or longer. But definitely, definitely Coastal Carolina's regional is going to be a gauntlet. I mean, with NC State and Florida. Again, Florida was a top 10 team preseason and just did not, 1-8 to get out of the gates in the SEC. But since then, they've been playing really well. With the expanded conferences, portal, and NIL, I feel like this will be one of the hardest tourneys to predict. Yes, that's a good point, Zach. I mean, it definitely will be. It definitely will be. But that again, that's what you want, right? You want it to be unpredictable. You want there to be upsets. I mean, like, college baseball is awesome when you see like, mid-major teams upsetting power conference teams, and getting to a super regional, getting to the College World Series. It's good for the game, man. It's good for the game. So hopefully we see a mid-major in the College World Series this year. If Oklahoma goes to Oregon State, they could make Omaha. Well, they're paired up with the Tallahassee regional, so I mean, I think if Florida State wins their regional, it's a tough matchup because Florida State's arms on the weekend are so good. Whatever happened to the Osuna kid at Tennessee? Yeah, I mean, he just wasn't granted his extra year of eligibility. And it sounds like, again, I don't know the story 100%, but everything that's come out seems like the NCAA kind of made it out to look like, hey, just transfer and you'll get it. And then he transferred and didn't get it. So I don't know, Zach. I don't know if he'll have to file for an extra year. Certainly he would be redshirted. But is he going to be granted an extra year of eligibility? I don't know. Tim, how many D1 players major in something like engineering or architect? Sorry, off subject, but I've been meaning to ask. Not a whole, like at Georgia Tech, for example. Most of the players are majoring in business administration, something like that. You do have maybe, and again, it's different year by year, but you may have like 10 guys on the roster that are engineering majors, or some, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, depending on the team year by year. But it just depends on what school they're at. If they're at a really high academic school, you're going to have more guys majoring in something other than like business. And again, at schools like University of Georgia and Georgia Tech, the business school is really good. So it's not like an easy major. It's definitely not engineering. I don't want to say that. But I would say typically on most teams, like most of your guys are going to major in something that's not incredibly difficult, but like at a school like Georgia Tech or others, especially in the ACC, which is just more high academic in general, you're going to have a higher percentage than most teams of guys that are in engineering and other things like that. Anyone floating the idea of playing the finals outside of Omaha, like rotated to different cities? I don't think so. I haven't heard anything like that. I think it's, I think it's just too prestigious of a thing. Omaha is, when you say Omaha, you think College World Series or Omaha Steaks. That's it. So I doubt Angel or Angel. I've not heard anybody mentioning that or thinking that. Who knows what the future could hold, but that I don't see that happening anytime soon. The NCAA just re-signed to Omaha for another 25 plus years. No way they move that, especially after all the money they put into the new stadium. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just don't see that happening anytime soon. It's a good city for it, albeit hot as hell in mid-June. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather it be hot than anything else, though, right? There's not many places you could go play. I guess you could go. I mean, everywhere at that point is pretty hot, you know. Has to be a city where the event can take over. So going to be that scale is not big enough for Atlanta, Chicago, New York City. Yeah. Yeah. I think like Omaha is kind of the perfect size. I mean, could it do well in other places? Yeah, but it's just again, it's just Omaha is where the College World Series is. That's where it happens. And literally dead center geographically, yeah, it's like it's a lot of teams would have to change up some of their things in their facilities that say how many miles it is to Omaha and all that stuff. I like the Wilson Special Edition gloves that come out for Omaha. I was always a Rawlings guy myself for my whole career. I never used any other glove but Rawlings. Back then, Georgia Tech was sponsored by Rawlings, so we had amazing gloves. And I used it my whole career. I still do. But I know a lot of guys that like Wilson. I'm sure if I was at a school that was Wilson, that would have been what I thought too. All right, guys. Well, I have to go away. Are you going to be doing these streams during regionals and supers? 100%, dude. 100%. We will be. I got third round of the playoffs, Elite Eight today. Wish me luck. Have a good rest of the day. May do a stream tonight after some of these games that we have midweek. Maybe not. Just look out for it. Did you say you were doing another podcast? I have a video coming out this afternoon. I may do a stream later tonight around like 10:30 Eastern, just recapping some of the games that happen. Just depends on it. There is some rain today for our game, so I don't know if it's going to be delayed and what time I get home and all that stuff. But if I'm back and it's not like 11 o'clock, I'll probably do something. So just be on the lookout for that.